Welcome to Escape Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hello.
Hello.
A very depressed hello from me, because this episode, man, made me sad.
I enjoyed it.
Why? Tell me why.
I don't know. Like, it was good in some ways and bad in others. But overall, I felt it was enjoyable. And maybe I was just in a good mood while I watched it. But, like, I thought the ghost storyline was okay. Like, it was pretty solid, kind of interesting. And then the B-plot emotional side was pretty sad, to be fair. But I don't know, like, I guess... No, I do have some issues with it. We'll go into them as we go through the episode, how, like, the whole Lisa Dean thing plays out. But, like, I don't know, I wasn't mad at it for some reason. It's like, oh yeah, fine, I'm just going to accept this. Maybe I've just become numb to Supernatural.
So I'll agree with you that the episode itself is, you know, it's well done. But it was just sad. Like, there was no hero moment in this episode. Like, none whatsoever. Like, it was all bad. Like, I know we always talk about how they never actually save people and, like, but, like, I don't think we haven't come across an episode in a while where, like, the case just turned out to just not have a happy ending.
And I guess they kind of call it out as well at the end of this episode, that it wasn't good and that they maybe sometimes don't always save everybody. So I think that's why I wasn't kind of mad at it. I think it was stupid. Like, just the convenience of how the case ended was dumb. Like, yeah,
like, I'm still very confused at how she got injured. Like, she didn't do it to herself, clearly. But
why the glass just flew out of the storefront window?
But it looked like it went from behind her.
That's not how
the pointy end was out.
I know this is not how it works. I'm not sure. It's just convenience. Yeah. I think they wrote themselves into a corner. It was like haunted kidney, and they're like, wait, how are we getting out this one? This isn't a two-parter, and we only have 5 minutes left. Like, yeah, she's just gotta die, dude.
Just gotta die.
Yeah.
And conveniently through the kidney that she got replaced.
Yeah. Oh, it's all bit too neat, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I do feel like they do this again, though, right? I feel like we have haunted body, well, not a kidney in particular, but like a haunted body part. Maybe they were like, wanted another run at it because this time wasn't good. Didn't have a satisfying ending. Yeah, because I feel like it was like a organ donor or something. Oh, yeah. And again, they just kind of, like, they just leave it or something. I don't remember. Yeah. Or they, like, resolve it with the ghost. I think you're right. That, like, yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah, maybe they just resolve. I can't remember. I can't remember either. I just remember, like, yeah. I was like, when I was watching this, I was like, wait, haven't we done this before? I guess it's coming up. Yeah, overall, I liked it. It was very 2005 Doctor Who, though. The, like, mannequins. Yeah, I can see that. Like, the autons. Yeah. Is it the autons? I'm not sure. I watched it, but I didn't pay that much attention. There's, like, this episode of Doctor Who where there's, like, living plastic, and it comes to life. And there is a bit where, like, mannequins come to life. But... to be fair, I don't think the CGI was any better than this. And this was I know. Bad. It was shocking. Yeah. It was shockingly bad. So yeah, this episode is season 6, episode 14, Mannequin 3, The Reckoning. Yeah. You're going to have to help me pronounce these names because I have no clue. Eric Carmelo? Yeah, sure. Charmelo? Yeah. And Nicole Snyder. Yeah. And it was directed by some dude. I'm going to say Jeannot Soir.
I'm sorry. I could, to be fair, I could Google it. It's just pure laziness. But like this guy's not going to listen to our podcast. He's not going to mind us butchering his name.
Yeah. So that dude, we have clearly never come across him because neither of us know how to say his name. Yeah. I'm assuming it is a guy.
Okay, too.
I could be wrong.
That is a good point. I'm clicking. No, I don't know. Unknown. I'm sorry if we also misgendered you, director. It's all good.
Yes. But I will say, like, they did a good job. We'll go neutral.
Yeah.
We'll go neutral.
I agree. The directing in this episode was actually really good. I really enjoyed it.
Me too.
there were some good shots in this, and like really good shots during emotional conversations that I thought were excellent. Mm-hmm. And like it really captured facial expressions and things. Like, yeah, it was really good directing. Like, why? I think this director only did like 5 episodes. I'm just clicking on the thing now. 5 episodes, and like could have done more. It was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really good. Like for a first time director to come in and be able to pull like those emotions, especially from like the actor who plays Ben.
Yeah.
Like that was really well done, and like to really understand who the characters are as well.
Yeah.
To like be able to direct the delivery of some of the lines and stuff.
I thought it was really, really good. I maybe that's partly why I enjoyed this episode. I thought the directing was excellent.
Definitely. Do you want to get into it?
Do you know what? I've got a few things to say. So we'll see how far we get.
Okay, sounds good. So the recap starts with Lisa and Ben. So of course this was going to be an emotional episode.
Yeah.
And we see the last time that Dean was physically with them, and that was when he pushed Ben into the wall. I actually forgot how, like, some reason I thought it was like a little like push aside.
Yeah.
But it really was like a shove.
I'd be mad.
Like, yeah. I can. And then the phone call from You Can't Handle the Truth, which was, I think, their last interaction.
Yeah.
That we've seen. We had a little bit of Swan Song, just where where Sam and Adam fall into the pit. Then Death talking about, putting a wall up and putting Sam's soul back in. And then we get the end of the last episode where Sam is seizing on the floor because the wall is cracking. It doesn't seem like the wall is broken.
Yes.
But it's cracked.
Yeah. I agree.
And I was surprised it was a direct continuation of what we had just seen in the last episode.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't expecting that at all. Because Dean is over Sam's like unconscious body, trying to like wake him up and like shake him, and he's yelling his Sammy. Sammy. And he's like trying to shake him and all this stuff. And as I really liked this, as Sam's eyes open, like you see the like hellfire like fade.
Yeah.
It was CGI wise not great. Concept wise really good.
Yeah, it was cheesy, but like I appreciated the idea.
Yeah, exactly. Dean then hauls Sam off the floor and says like, right, let's just get out of here. And like they skedaddle. And then we cut to New Jersey into a college science lab.
So one thing I will say about this episode is I feel like at pretty much every location in this episode we've seen previously. Like I swear we've seen this science lab before. And there's a bit where it shows like in a hotel room or whatever, and I'm like, that's just like the one they use. That corridor is the one they always use, and so is the room. Like, the room layout is the same. It's exactly the same. It just looks like somewhere Sam and Dean have stayed, and yeah, just every location in this I feel they've used previously, and it was a little bit jarring. I think because we're watching them in such quick succession, I was like, why is she in that motel where like Sam met Ruby or wherever it was?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
What's it? Huh. The science lab, I swear, looks like the one they used in Sabrina. There's probably just one location that looks like a science lab in like all of Vancouver, and it's just used for everything. Anyway,
more than likely.
Yeah.
And so the janitor is like mopping up the floor, and then he hears sort of noises around him, and it's very focused on this like anatomy dummy that's there, mannequin that's there, and like at one point the eyes move, and I was like, no. I already imagined that. I don't need to have it visually shown to me. Thanks very much. I'm not afraid of mannequins, by the way. Like, there are people who have like a genuine fear of them, but in this episode doesn't sway me in one way or the other.
I'm not scared of daytime mannequins. Nighttime mannequins are a different story.
And janitor, as he's mopping, he starts to like notice drips on the floor, and then you see there's a gash on his forehead, and you see his breath, and so obviously there's a ghost. He like turns around, is like, what the? And then the mannequin like knocks over like a tray of scalpels that are just there. And I was like, oh, he's going to get sliced up by one of them, but ends up just getting stabbed in the throat, but we don't really see that.
The blood splatter is pretty good in this one. It's a big one.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty... I wrote in my notes, impressive blood splatter. in that voice as well. So. Yeah. Oh, one thing I realised in this episode, because, sorry, I'm skipping, but like after this, we get the title card, right? And the title card for the season is like glass breaking. Do we think the title card is about breaking down barriers, i.e. the wall in Sam's head and the fourth wall in the next episode, and also maybe purgatory?
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's about breaking barriers.
So we had talked about it before briefly.
Yeah.
And we had said it was like breaking loyalty as well.
Yeah.
So we've gone from like conceptual idea to physical thing. I like it.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, yeah, the barrier in his wall in Sam's head is breaking this episode, and it seems right for the title card. It's like maybe that was the plan all along. But yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah. So as I was writing notes, like sometimes I find it hard to like write and watch at the same time. Yeah. So I'll pause it, and I wish I'd taken a photo of my. I know it's a photo of my screen with my TV, but whatever. And it was like the best pause of Sam like pinching his nose and like with his mouth open, and his eyes are like halfway rolled back into his head. And I was like,
That was the best ones. Yeah, because he was fully like, oh my god, like he's like not doing it. He looks like he's hungover essentially.
Yeah.
And they're like in a rest stop or whatever, and Dean's asking how he feels, and he says it like he got hit by a planet.
Yeah.
Dean's fully in Big Brother mode. He's like, oh yeah, I got you some Joe, some grub, and like some random container of pills, and Sam does decline to take them though. He's like, no thanks. Not your random pills. Yeah.
Sorry. No, Dean makes a reference to the doctor later on in the episode. Yes. Do you think he got these pills from the doctor after?
Oh, like yeah, almost definitely, because he's saying they're like effective. It's not something that he could just buy at a rest stop. Yeah. So I don't know what they could be. Probably some kind of codeine, surely, right? Like that.
Yeah.
Sam asked how long he was out, and Dean said it was only 2 or 3 minutes, and Sam said it felt about a week. So he's getting like hell time, right?
Yeah.
In his brain.
Wild.
It's crazy. Dean asks if he wants to talk about it, and Sam's like, what basically. Mm-hmm. And Dean's like, come on, like I know it was hell. Like you got a face full of hell. Like, and do you know that you could have died? And Sam's not really taking it seriously. He's like, no, like I couldn't have died.
Right.
I think Dean is rightfully angry because he was warning him the last episode this is going to happen, and then it happened, and now Sam's like, well, it was no big deal, so why are you even warning me about it? It's like, essentially. And so Dean puts his foot down and says, like, we're not doing that again. Like, the past is staying past. Sam's a bit, like, annoyed about that because he says, like, you know, you wouldn't let it go. Like, I don't know all the things that I did when I was soulless. Like, that whole argument they had last episode about, like, I need to make it right. Dean says this line that says,
you shove it down and you let it come out in spurts of violence and alcoholism. That sounds healthy. Well, it works for me.
I think this is the closest Dean ever comes to admitting he's an alcoholic. But this line.
Yep. And he knows what he does, but does he bother to change it? No.
No, it's like, my dude, you know that repressing stuff is making you angry and, like, driving you to drink. So, I mean, maybe don't repress that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is maybe where Sam and Dean differ. Is like Sam doesn't repress. He does, but he doesn't. He does confront a lot more stuff. Like, he's willing to confront the things he did as soulless Sam. Where, and I think we kind of see this later on, like when Dean's a demon, he kind of just lets the stuff that he did as a demon go. But he doesn't really bring it up again much at all.
Yeah.
To be fair, the stuff he did when he was a demon was like stupid stuff like karaoke and sex. So like,
is that any different to like normal Dean? Probably not.
Wasn't really. Yeah. So yeah, Dean says like, you know, it's not a joke. Like, it's your life. This isn't a debate. You were a soulless dickbag and now you're not. So are we good? And Sam's like, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm good. And immediately they move on to the case because that's what they do. There's no more talking about this.
Yep.
So Dean presents the case about this janitor, like basically like a locked room mystery. This guy died. They say it's in New Jersey, and Dean makes a joke about Snooky, and like that is a name I haven't heard in ages. Whatever happened to Snooky?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to Jersey Shore. I'm pretty sure this is like not the first time they've made a Jersey Shore reference as well. I feel like we've heard it before.
Reality TV is like slow hanging fruit, though, isn't it? Really, like.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're joking about stuff, I feel, because it's easy.
And they were such a cultural phenomenon too, so
I know.
That makes sense.
I mean, Sam asked, like, what's a Snooky, which I guess is making reference to the fact that he's missed a year. Maybe this was the year that, like, Snooky got big. I don't know. I don't remember either.
I don't remember.
So they go to the science lab. Dean immediately clocks the anatomy dummy and starts making these, like, weird jokes. Like, he takes the heart out and he's like, be my Valentine. Have a heart. When Sam's selling his foot bag. Dean says that he smells sulfur, to which Sam replies, like, we're in a science lab. Okay. But, like, not all science labs just, like, smell like egg. Lisa rings Dean as well, and he looks at it and, like, rejects her call, and Sam makes this point about, like, you know, you should talk to her at some point, and you just, like, leave it alone. So This is the first kind of, they're just dropping it in there that Lisa's going to be in this episode because she's not really been mentioned much since they last spoke.
That's true. I was wondering if Dean still had some reservations about talking to Lisa while Sam is around, because we had made the point, or one of us made the point, that like he didn't trust Soulless Sam with like information about Lisa.
Yeah.
But I maybe I'll take that back actually, because I do think that Sam has proved himself to be his old self. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason for Dean to hide it anymore, unless he doesn't want the conversation, which he doesn't.
I think it's that, and also like, I'm not sure how much Dean can forgive Sam, even though he was soulless, for letting him get turned into a vampire in the first place, which was the ultimate thing that ended his relationship with Lisa. Right?
True.
It's Sam's fault that this happened. So, you know, I know he was soulless, but it was still his fault. Which, I mean, I think it makes it a bit more, like, interesting on Dean's part that he's just like, let it go, you know. I think that's what he has to do as well for Sam, because he's telling Sam to like let all the stuff you did as Soulless Sam go,
right?
Because that's what Dean's having to do to forgive him, right?
True.
Because there's no way.
Yeah, because he hasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, because obviously it was Cass that revealed a lot of what had happened.
Yeah.
But Cass doesn't know everything. So I'm wondering if like that has gotten to Sam yet, that he let Dean be turned into a vampire.
I don't think it has. And I don't remember if it does come up like explicitly that they tell him that he let that happen. Interesting if it does. So yeah, the Lisa's not happening. Not today.
Not today, son.
They pull out their EMF meters and it obviously goes off. Sam gives them like the anatomy model like a side eye. Like, oh, he's clocked it already. Who doesn't say anything. They spot that there's cameras and then go watch the footage. And I'm like, did the police not do that already? Are they just not doing their job? I guess it's an active crime scene, so maybe they are just turning up like... But then it was in the news, so it's not new.
Well, yeah, I have no idea. No clue.
I just was like, someone must have checked these already. I guess, to be fair, they find nothing because it just cuts out, right? So maybe they had checked it and they were looking for other things. Okay, fine.
I will say this though, like when it came up, I was like, oh, we haven't done a security montage watch in a long time.
They don't do them that often, and I think they would be useful quite a bit. Yeah, so they have a little chat about like what else was interesting about this janitor guy. His girlfriend said that he was pretty normal, like went to church, donated to charity and rubbed her feet during Glee. And his record was spotless, like his criminal record. There's nothing strange about the science lab at all. He said the biggest thing before this was some genius accidentally spilled sulfuric acid on his crotch. That's why I don't sit down to do lab experiments. And
makes sense.
And they don't dissect anything bigger than Kermit. They use iPads. So yeah, they got nothing. And then we cut to a security guard doing a night shift somewhere. And I wrote down, like, night shift people don't get paid enough for this. Like,
I know, right?
This is some bullshit.
I thought the same thing. Like, at first, like before this story like reveals itself, I was like, you know, why do they always pick on the janitor? But like, you know, this particular janitor can get fucked.
Yeah. They do. They don't deserve it, but they do deserve some comeuppance. This is just too extreme. Yeah. There's this whole sequence of this guy thinking that he's being pranked and all these mannequins are like sneaking up on him. This is the bit that was very Doctor Who, I felt.
Yeah.
Apart from the bit where like the CGI mannequin stabs him with the big pole or whatever. I didn't even get what it was. Was it like a clothes rail?
I guess it must have been, right?
It would make sense. Yeah. They seriously should have just had a guy dressed like a mannequin do that. It would have looked better. Like a practical effect. Just put them in one of those like bodysuit things, flock it a bit to make it look like a mannequin, call it a day, because the CGI was no.
It was definitely a no. Yeah, it was. I didn't understand if there were multiple mannequins or if it was just one, because like one had scissors in its hand and then suddenly got stabbed by this pole.
I think there were two. I think there were two, because like one appeared in front of him and he was like, haha, very funny. And then like he turned around and there was like another one. So I think there were two. And then when he does get stabbed, they zoom out and all the mannequins are just like in parts on the floor around him. Right?
Yeah. Well, he falls into like a bin of mannequin parts as well.
Oh, that makes sense.
And like they tip over.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're going to do like, I can't think of the movie of where it happens, but it's like a horror movie trope where like zombie arms still move even though they're like not attached to anybody. Are they going to do that with mannequin arms? And they didn't.
That would have been quite good. Yeah. This guy,
like hold him down.
I mean, I know this is like, the thing is, this was really the only reference to the mannequin thing of this episode. So I feel like fine.
Yeah.
They went hard on the concept. It's okay.
They did. They really did.
Oh.
I will say, I don't know if you noticed this or if it was just me, like, but the sort of zoom out before the next scene was so long. Like, it felt really, really, like, yeah, okay, he's dead. We know he's dead.
Okay. I think, this is my opinion, I'm ready to be proven wrong. Maybe I'll go and listen to, maybe I should go back and listen to podcasts that Rob and Rich do and find out if this is true. Because I feel like the runtime was not long enough for this episode. Because there's some really long zoom outs. There's a montage. And also there's slow-mo as well. Yeah, there are several. There are 2 montages. There's some very unnecessary flashbacks as well that happen. Yeah. And I know I've mentioned this before, but like just for our listeners, just to remind you, go and watch the episode of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place where they outright say because it's like it is a parody of this type of show. And they're like, oh yeah, sometimes we had slow mode because our runtime wasn't long enough, so we were just padding it out. And it made me think of this.
Well, so somebody figured it out with Deadpool, that if you took out every single slow-mo sequence in that movie, it's only like 45 minutes.
Right? It's the runtime. I swear. They did, because there's a bit with Dean, there's a slow motion bit of Dean in his car in this. No need for that. Again, the montage, not required. Like, we know what happened. The flashbacks about the case, also, like, I've just seen this, I don't need it. And then you're right, like, these kind of zooming things, I think they were padding.
and there's a whole flashback of Ben and Lisa and Dean.
Yes. Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, so fun times.
Yeah. This is like a non-filler episode.
It really is. But I still fully recommend Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. It's got Matt Berry in it. You know, that guy from What We Do in the Shadows, New York City. That guy, he's in it. Much younger. He's great.
So Sam and Dean are in the mannequin factory. They're not in the mannequin factory. It's just a factory, which I'm assuming they make garments in.
Yeah,
it doesn't really tell you what.
Of some description.
Yeah. And it's funny how they're like, so it's, again, super active crime scene. There's lots of police officers walking around and like Sam sort of sneakily trying to do this thing, like, because obviously he would look crazy.
But it's that going like really loudly.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Nobody turned around to see what the like sci-fi noises were.
Yeah, exactly.
And like it's over the mannequin that it keeps going like crazy over. Wow. And it did the same thing in the science lab. Like it also was going crazy over that. I love the way that Sam says is,
wait, that anatomy dummy you were molesting at the lab. Excuse me? What if that's what this is about? What exactly are you accusing me of?
Dean's like, well, so what? We've got like a bunch of killer dolls like Chucky. Like, you know, that's just creepy. And he's like looking at this mannequin, like getting up into its face, and you think it's going to go like, boom. But obviously, not really. But we also then find out that the science lab and the factory are like three towns over. Yeah. So like, how is the ghost going from one place to another? Because that doesn't happen. They usually stay pretty much in one location.
Yeah.
So now they're going to go find some information.
I think I was going to complain that they didn't actually make a mannequin reference in this episode, but I feel like Dean saying, I don't like the way Kim Cattrall's looking at me. I think Kim Cattrall was maybe the actress who played the mannequin in the Mannequin film. Maybe. Let me just Google that. I'm going to check. Because I was getting a bit annoyed at like they didn't mention the mannequin. Yeah, it is her in the Mannequin episode.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Again, I don't know if I went through this last week. It's a rom-com. It's about a guy who falls in love with a mannequin at a department store, and she comes to life at night. And I can't remember how it ends. whether she like Pinocchio's and becomes like a real girl, or if she stays a mannequin. And I don't know which ending is worse.
Okay, so there is kind of a reference to that. It's not quite as clean as that because Johnny has a particular type of doll.
You're right.
Yeah,
she does look a bit like Kim Cattrall. It's just blonde. She's just blonde. Like that's it. That's yeah.
So they're in an office, and again, the guy who turned up dead is, you know, a decent guy, but Sam has found something about a seamstress that had gone missing named Rose Brown, and the cops have like gave up on finding her.
Yeah,
probably because it's such a small place. And she's survived by her sister Isabel. So they figured it's probably a vengeful spirit.
Yeah.
And they're going to go visit the sister. But before they can leave, Dean gets a phone call from Lisa, and Sam tells him to answer it. And it's actually Ben on the other side of the call. And he's saying that, like...
What are you talking about?
It's bad, Dean.
Define bad.
I don't know. She won't talk to me.
All right, put her on the phone.
She won't come to the phone.
And Dean's like, just give the phone to your mum. Like, just do it. And he says, her door's locked. She barely gets out of bed. I'm not kidding. Just please come help me. I don't know what to do. And Dean takes on like dad role.
Yeah.
Because he's like, all right, I'll call you back. And Ben's like, Dean, he says 5 minutes. I'm like, ooh, okay. Yeah. So outside the mannequin factory, I'll just call it that. Outside the factory, Dean is arguing with Sam, saying that, you know, he can't just leave in the middle of a case. And Sam's like, of course you can. Like, Ben called you. Yeah. Just go deal with it. Like, I can handle this for 24 hours.
I get you want to bury it, but I had to deal with my past year. You got to deal with yours.
But we know that Dean doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
It cuts to Sam in... So Dean ultimately gives in and drives off. Then we cut to Isabel apartment, and Sam is talking with her, and it's just like, you know, the contrast between soulless Sam's interviews and souled Sam interviews is so stark because he can actually like connect with somebody. And she, you know, is describing her sister, how she was very awkward and shy and an easy target for people all her life. Isabel would defend her. Yeah. And she says she did more for me than anybody else ever could, which we know now is the kidney.
Oh, yes. Of course. To be fair, I didn't make that connection later on, but that totally makes sense.
So then there's a photo album on her coffee table, and Sam's flicking through, and he finds like a group photo, and you see two of the victims with Isabel and Rose as well. And like everybody, I guess this is how small the town is. Like everybody works for this one company because there's nothing else there. Which is really funny because I feel like this town looks bigger.
Yes, it definitely does.
Like it doesn't have that very like rural small town feel.
No, it doesn't really. You're right. I think it's like this. I don't know. I agree with you. I can't put my finger on why. You know. Yeah.
I think it's because the houses, like it's like apartment building. Like it's like a where the bar is later on in the episode. It's got apartments above it, and you don't see that in rural towns. It's usually like separate buildings everywhere because they have the space.
You're totally right. It looks like that looks like inner city bar, right? Where it should look like
exactly
some town where it's all detached houses and space.
Yeah, exactly. Also, I didn't look up where this like town in New Jersey is, so it may not even be a rural town. It just could just be a really small, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just kind of assuming, because like if you're all working in one spot, like surely you would go travel. Like anyway, yeah. They're outside, and Sam calls Dean. He says, "Hey, get this."
Yes.
And he tells Dean that the janitor used to work for the factory a year ago. Then he left just after the disappearance of Rose. Like, suspicious, What's the police doing? Come on.
Come on, man. They barely investigated this girl's disappearance. Awful.
Yeah. But it doesn't explain how the ghost got to the college. Yeah. And it's not like, they could have hopped the blue line, is what Dean says. So in the factory, this is where there's another montage of him interviewing people in the factory, all the workers and things. Yeah. And then eventually we get to Johnny, and I'm like, I have seen this actor before. He's one of those ones that like is in all the TV shows and is usually the bad guy. So like he's coming across very nervous and like he's not sweating yet, but like you can tell he doesn't want to be there. Yeah. And Sam, obviously being the little detective that he is, picks up on it right away. Like he's trying to get around it, saying like, "Oh, they were my friends, so of course I'm upset." Yeah. And Sam's like, "Well, I didn't say upset. I said nervous." We then cut to Lisa's house, and Dean's ringing the doorbell, and Lisa answers the door, and she's like dressed up, clearly ready to go on a date. And she's like,
Dean, what are you doing here?
Well, you look absolutely fine.
What's going on?
We've been parent-trapped.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it was very good. He then further explained that Ben sent out a 911 and he ruined her date night, basically. Because she invites him in and they try to kind of... It's a very stilted conversation. Yeah. Like nobody is really opening up about anything, which I think's fair.
Yes.
Because Dean wants to know who the guy is, and it's just like, I don't think you really have a right to ask that question.
Yeah, I know.
Lisa says, I called you like 6 times, I called you 6 times. And Dean's like, well, I almost called you back 100. And he's like, well, that's good to know. Like,
it means nothing, man.
Thanks.
That means nothing.
Yeah. Your intention means dick. Yeah. And then Dean does something that I thought was kind of cruel. Like he blames Lisa for he says,
at least Ben called me. I dropped everything and ran. If you want to know if I care.
What's with the guilt trip?
Yeah, no, I agree with this completely. What is with the guilt trip? Like, oh, that misses me proving that I care about you because I dropped everything to help Ben. You should come and help Ben because you're like a decent guy. And he clearly has your number because you gave it to him and said, if you have an emergency, call me, right? Like, yeah. It's bad. I agree. There are some bits in this whole thing, but I guess it's supposed to be like, I don't know. They're hurting people, or whatever.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it okay.
No, that's so true.
And I mean, Lisa kind of calls out. She says, doesn't help me. Like interrupts him. Yeah. And then Dean asks, what do you want from me? And Lisa says, I'm not asking for anything. He responds with, then ask for something. Yeah. Like, clearly, Lisa is the way more mature adult in this relationship.
This is partly why you could add this to your Dean needs therapy thesis. Because Dean's love language, even though love languages I don't think are really a thing, but his love language is acts of service, right? Like, he does things for people, like bringing them back to life and getting their souls and dropping everything to drive to go help their kid. So I think he's basically saying, like, give me the thing to do that can like fix this, like I need what is the act of service that I can do. But I don't think that's vibing with Lisa. Like she clearly I guess her love language is whatever you call presence, like just being together. I don't think she can do the long distance thing. I think that's partly the reason why she's kind of calling it out. Which is fair enough, but I don't know. I find it hard to watch because they clearly care about each other very much, and I think it's quite hard to watch, knowing like it just can't happen, like.
Yeah, it is. Ben tries to interrupt, but Lisa and Dean both yell at him to go to his room.
Great.
Yeah, it was a good moment. And then Lisa carries on saying, you know, I can't ask for something.
I know what I want. But I can't have it. Not how you live. My phone rings. I think tiny chance it's you. Big chance it's Sam calling to tell me you're dead.
So, like, I think you're right. Like, just being there is what she wants. And it makes sense. She wants stability for Ben.
Yes, exactly. You know, she can't live with the not knowing if he's alive or not. Like, that's a really hard way to live. Just dropping all communication or like just checking every now and then. And she'd be constantly living on edge. Like, it's real tough.
It is.
And again, it's not fair on Ben because Ben knows about like supernatural stuff. Like, he saw those lamprey kids, right?
Yeah.
So he knows, and he must know then what Dean does for a living. Yeah. So he would also be worrying, and like she can't have that for her. Like, that's just not happening.
And it's actually after this episode that I like can appreciate them erasing their memory. Like at the beginning of the season, I was like, oh no, like it was so good. But like as time has gone on, I'm realizing actually it makes perfect sense as to why, like, especially with what Lisa says next. Because Dean tries to apologize and she stops him and says, you don't need to apologize or anything.
She's like, get to this place where I'm okay, and then you show up at our door. You keep doing that. Every time I think I'm never going to see you again. I'm trying to get over you.
I think that line is just sort of... It's true because Dean does that every time.
Yeah.
And you see it in the montage at the end of this episode.
And for her, I think it's over. Like, this conversation, it is over for her. I don't think there's any like door open. She still clearly loves Dean, but she knows the relationship is done. Like, once he was back in with Sam, nothing trumps Sam. So they're always going to be coming second to him and hunting.
Yes.
And like, yeah, you can't have that in a relationship, like being second, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And because ultimately the person who he reconciles with in this episode is Ben, right? Like we'll talk about that in a minute, but like he's trying to make him not feel bad about the situation because ultimately it's like not his fault, he's a kid.
You're right.
But yeah, the relationship is done. I actually really, I do think this is quite tragic. I think this is overlooked by a lot of the fandom about how tragic this is for Dean and how it colors a lot of his future relationships as well. Like the fact that he did have it like for a year, like he had this happiness, he had his apple pie life, and it all fell apart because, let's be real, because of Sam and hunting.
Yeah.
And they're two parts of his life that he can't let go. So you would make that connection if you were Dean in your brain that like, while I have Sam and while I'm a hunter, I can't be happy. That sounds horrible, but like I can't have a functional relationship because I would always be putting those people in danger. They would always be coming second to hunting, and after Lisa, he doesn't have any relationships with all right. Yes, he does. I know we're deep in the we're deep in the cast bandwagon.
I think everybody knows that.
But we don't see him have this kind of life again where he settles down in a house with a kid and the closest we get to it is the bunker, really. And I think that's why Dean thrives so much in the bunker, is because it is very close to what he actually wants, which is this kind of like home life. That was a big big rant there, but
well, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying, and I really don't have anything else to add to it. Yeah.
I was mad about how it ended because it felt true to the characters. I think that's why it annoyed me. It's not that kind of like happy ending that you wish they could have, because it needs to be bad for the storytelling. You can't have Dean settle down, otherwise you don't have this angsty storyline.
I do think it's kind of I know Lisa said her piece on with what happened with Ben, and I'm appreciative that she didn't bring it up again in this conversation. because she, has already gotten it out. But I do wonder if that's still like part of the issue, because Dean never explained what that was, and he doesn't in this conversation either.
You're so right. Like she had to know that like something was up, but yeah, he doesn't explain like, oh yeah, by the way, I was a vampire. Yeah, like that's the reason I like shoved your son. And I think it was a kind of, the thing is, I would say it's a reality check if she hadn't already been confronted with like the whole lamprey kid situation on the Supernatural, like how it can kind of follow you home, I guess. And Ben went missing, so that whole thing happened. But maybe it hadn't kind of hit her like what it meant letting Dean into their lives and kind of what he could bring to their door. But again, it was Sam's fault. I don't know why. I'm just like stuck on this. It was very much Sam's fault. And I think Dean is being like a big guy for forgiving him for that, even though he was soulless. But also it just re-hammers home the point that like Dean can't have that life while Sam is around.
Yeah.
Does this not maybe add to the point that maybe Sam should have died at the end of Supernatural instead of Dean? But then it would never have worked either, because he would have done anything to bring him back. It's a bad codependent relationship. Yeah. That's the only thing you can take out of this.
And it never gets fixed.
It never gets fixed. It goes on and on until they both die.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it just continues in heaven, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah. Wild. Absolute. Yeah.
And I also think that's why people like glom onto like Destiel, because ultimately you want to see your characters have like a fulfilled ending by the end of the book, right? It's not fun to have a tragic ending, in my opinion. You want to see them grow and change and like fulfill themselves. So the only way that Dean could like have a functional relationship would be with someone fully in the life, like who was also interested in the same stakes that he was, aka keeping Sam alive. I mean, Cass only is like, he helps keep Sam alive because I think Dean would go off the rails if he did. And also they're best friends. I'm still committed to that. But yeah, I think that's partly the reason why it's such a popular ship as well, because the only way that Dean could be happy was to have someone like that.
Yeah. It's funny that you were saying somebody who's also in the life, which is where like blurry wife is really annoying. Yeah. Because it should have been Eileen. Mm-hmm. Like that makes the most sense that it would be and again, we're completely assuming that Sam continues to hunt. Yeah. But we don't actually know that, because we're never shown that. We're just shown sad Sam in a bad wig.
No, but I think we're supposed to think that he doesn't. I mean, I read it as like he quit. That was it. Like he was out.
Yeah. No.
So that's why blurry wife, because he was like, no more hunting. Bye, Eileen. That's bad. Like, I'm not saying that's good, but that is what implies happens. Yeah.
True. Yeah. And he brought her back from the dead.
Look, I'm also mad about this. They were perfect together. I'm so mad about it still. They were. Still. The disrespect to Eileen.
Right?
That's the thing that annoys me. It's disrespectful to her character. Blurry wife. Disrespect.
Disrespect. Absolute disrespect. So then, getting back into the episode. We're then back at the factory, and Johnny is on the phone with somebody. And he's like, of course I'm flipping out. The feds are here. And Dave and Steve are dead. And like, he's like, no, just call me later. And you see like blood start to drip, and he looks in a mirror, and you see like the cut on his forehead in the same spot as the other two guys start to appear. I will say that CGI, not too bad.
That was good.
Not too bad.
I wondered if it was a practical effect. Maybe that's why it looked better. Maybe it was CGI.
I think it was CGI. Okay. When it cuts to the next scene, it's practical again.
Okay, cool. That's fine. And then Sam appears.
Ta-da!
He's like, come on, let's go!
That was a ghost trying to kill you for being a dick.
What?
That is a great line, by the way. I kind of want that on a t-shirt. Just says a ghost is trying to kill you for being a dick. Do you not think that's good? I really like to have random stuff like that. So okay, he's like, yeah, you were really suspicious. And Johnny's like, but how did you figure it out? Like, he's like, yeah, I told you you're being really suspicious, my dude. Like, honestly. So Sam's like, look, you're going to end up like your friends. Oh, during all this, like Sam's like pushed him into a break room and is salting the floor and the windows and everything. And he's like, tell me what you did because you're going to die because of it. Like, if you don't tell me, do you want me to help you? I think part of this is Sam being quite like, this guy's a dick. So Sam is kind of like annoyed at him, but also I think there's a little bit of projection here about like all the things that he did in this past year, and he's like, why wouldn't you want to make amends, you know?
Yeah.
Because he is very like exasperated, that's not the word, exasperated with this guy. So yeah, Johnny explains what they did to Rose. So essentially we get again like a whole like a flashback sequence on this, him and his like friends, and there were some other guys involved as well, I swear. Because they show like more guys at the end.
Yeah, there was 4 of them.
Yeah. They never mentioned the other guy. They basically tricked Rose into thinking she had like a secret admirer, like they're leaving stuff in her locker and laughing at her. And then they set up a date for her with this imaginary person. And when she got to the apartment where she's supposed to be, it was like a mannequin they dressed up from the factory. Cruel joke. Horrible. Yeah. And then they came out like, haha, isn't this really funny? Like, and confronted her, which is also kind of like scary. Like, all these guys like just confronting this woman in an apartment, like, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. They didn't have no self-awareness at all from any of them.
None.
And she's really upset, and ultimately she like tries to walk away from them, trips and smacks her head on a coffee table and dies. So it was an accidental death, but it was their fault, right?
Yeah, because like Steve, like the janitor, he grabs her arm and she tries to pull away, and that's when she falls and hits her.
So if it's anybody's fault, it was Steve's fault. He's already dead, but she's kind of going after the rest of them essentially. Yeah. He explains that like it wasn't, you know, we didn't mean for it to happen. He actually said at the time that he was going to call the cops, but they talked him out of it and said like, this looks dodgy, which it does. So they decide to bury her in the woods. Johnny's like, well, you know, I didn't kill her. Sam looks at him and says, look me in the eyes and tell me none of it's on you. And like he can't, because he knows that it was on, like he was just as involved as everybody else in being horrendous. Exactly. So Sam's like, you have to tell me where she's buried. He does. She's in the woods, in a clearing. That's the only directions he gives. So like Sam finding that is like wild. It's just ridiculous. Like, what is he, like a bloodhound? Yeah. It's like ridiculous.
And after a year, the dirt is going to look like normal.
Right? He's just got the sixth sense for graves, I guess. I don't know what's going on. But so Sam leaves, but he leaves Johnny there and says, like, stay inside the salt ring. And Johnny's like, do you expect me to stay here? And Sam says, yeah, considering it getting off easy. So,
yeah.
We cut back then to Ben's bedroom, and Dean comes in and says, like... So he looks at his game and says, that's ridiculous. Plants could never kill a zombie. Which is quite good. They have this really sweet little heart-to-heart. I really like this. Yeah. Dean kind of says, like, you know, you lied to get me here. And Ben says, you know, it was an emergency because it's Lisa's third date. And I know what that means. I watch TV. And Dean doesn't really say anything. We kind of like raises his eyebrows. He's like, well, you know, your mum's a grown up, like she gets to go out. So he's doing good parenting here because he's backing up Lisa and telling Ben that it's wrong, but he also kind of like validates why he did it. It's good parenting. I appreciate this.
Yeah.
So Ben does ask him, like,
why don't you come home? Can't you just say I'm sorry and then come back?
I like the way Ben talks to Dean is like he belongs with them, like saying like, yeah, you know, come home, like this is your house, this is your family. Dean says like he can't. Ben confronts him and says can or won't, to which Dean says both, which is true. And then Ben's like, well, so you hate my mom now? And he's like, no, you know. And so Ben's like, it's me. It's like this whole like parents getting divorced situation where the kid thinks it's their fault.
Yeah.
And he even says like, whatever I did, I'm sorry. And Dean gets really serious and like, again, this is good parenting. And says like, you didn't do anything. Like one day you'll figure this out, but like you didn't do anything. And Ben's like kind of don't treat me like I'm 6. To which Dean says like, okay.
I don't, but I think my job turns me into somebody that can't sit at your dinner table. And if I stayed, you'd end up just like me.
Oh, this hurt Annabelle. Like, he thinks he's John. Like the only father figure he's ever had is like tried to mold him into himself, like a mini version of himself, like ruthless hunter, which is just not Dean. Like he's just a soft boy, and deep down. And so for him to think that he's a bad influence on Ben, and like even Ben, like a kid, is like, you think you're bad? Like,
right.
He's like, and Dean says, oh, I'm not someone you want to aim to be. And Ben says, don't I get a vote? Like he really looks up to Dean, like he thinks he's a good guy. And he's just a teenager, but he clearly can see that like Dean's self-worth is like in the pits. So he's trying to big him up. Dean says he doesn't get a vote. He's like, you've got a shot at living whatever life you want. You know, pick one, pick 5. Because with me, there's only one road. Again, thinking that he's John, that if he sticks around, Ben's going to end up a hunter.
Exactly. But, I mean, I was going to say, but didn't he look at Sam? But then Sam ultimately became a hunter because of circumstances.
Yeah. So. He doesn't have any good, like, parental figure to base this on. Right? So, but, like, Ben's Lisa's kid too. You know?
True.
It's not all down to him.
And since we don't know if Ben, he is, but we don't know if Ben is really his biological child, there could be no Winchester, shenanigans.
The genetic shenanigans might not be there. You're totally right. They need to test for that. Oh, I see you have shenanigans in your DNA. Yeah. It's all Dean's fears about ending up like John, like manifest, right? That he's so worried that he's going to then influence another kid to be another John. He doesn't want to bring more Johns into the world.
Yeah, and like we kind of saw that before when, I guess it was the first episode when Ben goes into the garage and like gets a gun from the car, and like Dean freaks out about that. And like, because Ben wants to learn how to shoot and everything like that, and he shoots it down, and Lisa gets really annoyed at him for it. I think it was the second episode actually. And I know what you mean, because they just moved house. Yeah.
But yeah, because he's just like, no, stay away from it at all. No learning about guns, no nothing. Like, you stay away from this. I don't want you to go anywhere near it. And this is why Dean's like Mary, because she wanted her kids kept away from this too. She was adamant. Yeah. But yet.
And yeah, exactly. Here we are.
I love this from Ben. Like, he's such a switched on kid. He's like, you're a liar, Dean. He said, you say family's so important.
But what do you call people who care for you, who love you, even when you're a dick? You know you're walking out on your family, right?
And like, Dean does not have any answer to that.
The face that Dean makes, like, is as if his, like, blood his blood doesn't drain from his face, because I don't think that's something that you can like make yourself do, but like it has that very same feeling of like it hit him in the gut. Let's be real,
like, because it's true they're his family. If Ben's decided their family, and
exactly.
I think this is also Ben calling out the show, because I thought the whole point of Supernatural was found family. And if Ben isn't Dean's kid, whatever, then Ben and Lisa are found family for like Dean. They adopted him. They're like, he's theirs now. Yep. And yet he chooses Sam over them. Like, really, that is what's happening here. And this happens again and again throughout the show. Like, they find these people who are not blood related to them, who care about them deeply, who are their family, like that they love a lot. And ultimately, they end up choosing each other. And I feel like that's a bad message.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, they talk about, you know, family doesn't end in blood, but like for Sam and Dean, it does. They will always choose blood family over found family. And it's really sad because everyone who surrounds them chooses them as family, and they, like, even Jack doesn't get this.
Right. And it is like kind of what annoys me about Supernatural sometimes is they wanted to have this whole message about this, like, you know, like you say, family don't end in blood, but like it turns out not to be true.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10.
Which is, I don't know, but that's what it should have been. Like, and again, I'm finale ranting a lot today. That's why it was so important that we maybe like saw those people at the end of Supernatural, because ultimately the story was not just about Sam and Dean. It wasn't. It was about like
not at the end. Yeah.
It was about Lisa and Ben, although they'd had their memories erased or whatever. It was about like Jodie and Donna and all their girls as well, you know, who they'd adopted. That again, expanding the definition of found family. It was about Cass and Jack. Also, again, you know, Cass is Jack's dad, despite not being his like biological father. You know, he adopted that kid, and that is his kid. Like, that's his kid. And then, but yeah, it just doesn't seem to extend to the other. I don't know. It hurts my heart a bit.
And to that point, like, we see Sam's son, who he is named Dean. Like,
so go to therapy. Go to therapy. You've named your son after your. Yeah, I mean, okay, fine. No, that is actually like a pretty normal thing to do. Okay, that's fine. But like, I feel like it's not a normal thing to do in the context of what you have been through.
Yeah, like his middle name can be Dean. Yeah. Give him another name.
Yeah. I don't know. This line just got to me because I'm like, yes, Ben, you call out this show, right?
Yeah. No, I felt that way too, because it really was just like, oh yeah, no, you don't. But the thing is, he's gotten that from John. Like, really, like this twisted view on family is all about blood, and we kind of see that with Samuel too, right? He's rejecting Sam and Dean as family and only looking at Mary as family.
It's very weird. I feel like there's a whole papers you could write on how they view family and Supernatural, like, because it's very complicated. Yes. And they do show really good examples of found family. Like I said, like Jodie and Donna, Cass and Jack. Like, I feel like they're really good examples. And again, don't do anything with them, right? We never got wayward daughters, and like Cass barely asks about Jack. Like at the end, the other way around. Jack doesn't really ask about Cass much at all in 1519 or wherever it was, the penultimate episode. Just, I don't know, just wild to me. Yeah. What's more?
It's like the message kind of got lost along the way.
It really did. It really did.
I think it was after Bobby gets killed. Because Bobby is like the linchpin of the family.
Yeah, I agree. I actually totally agree with you on that. And then I think to bring him back as like an alternate version was almost like a mistake, because it didn't feel right to me.
No.
For them to not have the same relationships they had previously, because obviously he didn't know them. Right. It's like cool to see him back, but like actually I think it would have been better if he didn't. Or maybe just shouldn't kill Bobby off in the first place. I don't know. Anyway.
But they also like Sam and Dean needed to grow up.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, we'll talk more about Bobby's death. It's not far away.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that.
So we go back to see Rose's grave in the woods. So this is all after they've had this conversation with Ben. Sam like manages to find her and salts and burns her body. He does it with like what I think is supposed to be quite a lot of emotion, but he has a very like Dean face on while he does the whole flame thing. I think he's having his moment because normally Dean gets to do that.
Yeah. For a moment, I thought he was gonna like be triggered by the fire.
He just did a long lingering look at the fire and then threw it in, and I'm like, okay, have your moment, Sam. Cool. Then we see he rings Johnny and says that he's safe.
Look at this as a new beginning. A lot of chances not to be a jackass.
We see Johnny and he's like talking to someone called Jenny, which okay, so
Johnny and Johnny.
like he's talking to his companion, old companion, who decided to name Jenny Wild. So he's like, pack up, we're leaving, like just the essentials. I want us to move on with our lives. I love you, you know that. It's been really hard, Jen. And then she moves, which again she shouldn't be doing because she's a doll. And he freaks out, obviously.
Yep.
Oh, and gets murdered, I should say. Sorry.
He is dead. So we then go to Johnny's apartment. So Johnny's apartment, we see, is above a bar, and we see that Isabel and some people from work have gone into the bar as well. Sam gets to the crime scene and sees Johnny is dead, and he's got the scarf that the doll had on around his neck. So he was strangled. He then calls Dean on the phone, but gets like his voice message and tells him that it's not over. Like burning the remains didn't stop her. She's hooked to something else. I'm going to go see the sister now. Call me. Sam then goes to Isabel's apartment again, and he's looking through a box of her Rose's things, and he's like, is this it? And she's like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing really else. And then he notices some chemistry books and asks, just like, was she at the university last week? He starts to then like put it together, and he's like, are you wearing anything of Rose's? A ring, a bracelet, her baby teeth, and a locket? Why would you hold your siblings' teeth in a locket? Don't know. Isabel's very scared, clearly, because like this FBI agent is asking you about baby teeth.
And
like,
now dressed like a lumberjack.
Yep. And then it's revealed that Isabel has one of her kidneys when she was 16 years old. They had given her kidney. And Sam's like, you're kidding me. Isabel's trying to get like an explanation of what's going on. It's like, yeah, you're going to have to come with me. Sorry, kind of thing.
I didn't mention, because I forgot, but like we've been talking about flashbacks and montages. So Sam meets up with Dean here, but previously, I think when Dean leaves Ben, we get this like really weird montage of his whole relationship with Lisa about like opening doors and stuff while he's sad in the Impala. And this is where we get this like slow-mo bit of him driving while he's being sad about Lisa. I guess it's supposed to be signifying like the end of their relationship. I was like, oh, it's properly over now while I was watching it because they got a montage.
And it was, the funny thing is, it's like opening doors, but the door is closing on their relationship.
Oh, very good. Yeah, there's all little bits and bobs in there from like scenes they've done together, like in previous episodes, and also him and Ben as well. So it's sad. Also like completely unnecessary. I feel like we knew it was over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that in there because we've mentioned it like several times, and I was like, where did that actually come in the episode? I was like, oh yeah, I skipped it.
I couldn't remember where it was either. Yeah. So they're in a part of town that's like deserted, and Sam and Dean are like huddled talking to each other while Isabel sort of sat in the car, Sam's car. And they're trying to figure out what to do because they can't exactly like burn her kidney because she needs it clearly. And Dean's like, oh, maybe we can call Dr. Robert. Maybe he has a non-haunted black market replacement kidney. And then they come to the conclusion that they have to do some hoodoo. And like Isabel comes up and says, voodoo? And Dean's like, no, it's actually hoodoo. It's a little different. She's finally picked up that they're not federal agents. But before they can explain what's going on, the Impala starts to rev up. And I was like, oh, it's like episode 1. It's pilot.
Yeah.
And they get like, Dean yells, hey, you leave my baby alone. She's got nothing to do with this.
No. She possesses sex dolls. This is not a sex doll.
I mean, that was a pretty funny line, to be fair. I'm like, Dean, how do you feel about your car?
Yeah, right.
Like, to be fair, she's only possessed things that are like personified things. So maybe like it's because Dean sees the Impala as a person. I think that's the only reason like she's managed to possess the car. That's my theory.
Yeah, no, you could be right. And they start like running around trying to avoid getting hit by the car. And then Dean's like, oh, I know what I have to do. And he's like, I'm so sorry, baby. And like the car rams into this storefront. And then like Sam runs over and is asking if you're all right, like if Dean's all right. And then Isabella's there. And she's like, yeah, and then like blood comes out of her mouth. But it's like she was just ushered into a car.
I don't know how she died. Like, I don't understand how she died. I guess the theory is that the glass came out of the storefront and impaled her. But you're right. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it's like a huge piece of glass that looks like the pointy end is at the front. So it would have got her from behind, which means she would have had to have been turned away.
Yeah, but she wasn't.
But she didn't make a noise when a massive shard of glass came through her. That's
kind of fine. I don't mind about the like making a noise bit. Christopher Lee taught us about that with like the whole like stabbing thing from Lord of the Rings. But I don't think because like shock, you might not realize it happened.
True.
But I just don't think she was in the vicinity.
Yeah.
I'm just confused by it.
Yeah, I don't get. And like, yeah.
So whenever something like this happens, you can just blame Chuck because like he wrote it. So like do better.
Yeah, true. He doesn't know how to do better. Exactly. Sam catches Isabel as she's like falling to the ground. And then we see Rosa's spirit and she gets her first line of the episode because we haven't heard her talk the entire time. And she apologizes and says, I didn't mean for this to happen. And then she goes up in flame. And that's the conclusion of the case.
Yeah. She did.
They're both dead.
Everyone died. It was bad.
Both dead. Everyone. Yep. So we then cut to Bobby's scrapyard and Dean's repairing the Impala. And I was like, the car is broken, family is broken, but put back together or something, because there is something here and I'm not connecting the dots, because when John, the season 2 beginning, the car was destroyed and he has to repair it. And like now another family is broken.
The car is dented like Dean's heart, but it's not irreparable. Yeah.
Yeah.
He can learn to love again.
He can. And he will. Until he gets stabbed through the...
Yeah.
Anyway,
Nope.
So Sam asks Dean about how it's going with the repairs. And he's like, considering she got carjacked by a poltergeist, could be worse. And then he asked pretty much, what was the point of this episode, dear Sam? What did we do back there?
Exactly, I love that.
And Sam's like,
Yeah, I'm not putting it in the win column either.
We saved a few dicks and we killed an innocent girl.
which is true. Like they saved, like, well, there was only one other guy, I think, maybe 2
Yeah.
of the group.
And it was down to their interference that Isabel died, right? Because she wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
The haunted car wouldn't have possessed and, I don't know, somehow smashed her kidney. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. For a moment, I was like, did she stab herself? But no, she wouldn't do that.
That's no.
No.
Crazy.
Yeah. I thought it was going to turn out that like her sister was in on it too.
Yeah, me too. I thought that. I thought that. Yeah, it would have made sense. It was revenge.
Yeah,
for her sister. Yeah,
but I kind of like, in the context of this episode, I kind of like that they didn't.
Yeah,
because it would have cheapened. Like, oh, yay, it's a happy ending. Like everybody got their just desserts.
Yeah.
But this way, it's just like, oh yeah, no, this was just like a bummer. Yeah. Dean then points out, saying like, oh, he continues saying after he killed an innocent girl, I got a heartbroken kid, a woman who's pissed at me. I see what you mean about facing your past. It's awesome. Thanks. And Dean points out that, you know, all we do is make a mess, which is not wrong. It's not wrong. And Sam agrees. He says,
We do save lives now and again.
Yeah, I guess. I'm just tired of all the bad luck, you know?
I feel like that is hinting at something that comes up. Not into like.
Yeah. No, sorry. No, go to the next line. The next line is definitely foreshadowing. That's my pointing out what Sam says.
Okay.
Sam says.
So yes, Sam then goes on to say, well, you know, number one, bad luck is kind of in the job description, and number two, it's not all bad. Really, look at me. I mean, at least Satan's left the building.
Ah, he hasn't. He's gonna come back. Sorry, that was foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Big pointy arrow. Foreshadowing. Wee woo, wee woo.
Yeah. Something's coming. And like, this is kind of a good life lesson that Dean points out. He's like, yeah, it's the little things. And you really do sometimes just have to find the good little things in life.
I totally agree. Yeah.
In their case, like more often than most. I
like
think.
Appreciate like a good chair, you know, that you sat down and comfortable. Maybe you got like a cup of tea or just like
good biscuit.
Good biscuit. Just little things, you know, like small. Yeah, that's the secret to happiness, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And Sam goes on to say, and I have a soul because of you. I never thanked you for that, did I? And he's like, oh, like Dean brushes it off and he's like, well, thanks. It's like, no, you went and voluntarily put yourself to death.
You then killed yourself.
Not knowing you're going to come back.
You did do that. That was the thing you did. Like
agreed to be death for a day. Like, okay.
He did a lot. Like,
I don't know. He did a lot. It was definitely not nothing. And then because he goes on to say, like, you would have done the same for me.
Would he? Sorry.
Would he?
Would he? No. The answer is no.
Well, mystery spot though.
Yeah, maybe. But you know, when Dean actually did go to hell, they tried some stuff, but like then kind of gave up. And then Dean goes to purgatory, and Sam just immediately gives up. And then,
well, this kind of goes back to like Dean always goes to the places first, so they don't know how to get people out of it. Okay. Like they've never been there.
All right, fine. I'll give Sam a pass. Fine.
Like they don't know how to get to heaven yet. They don't know how to get to hell yet. They don't know how to get to purgatory. Like as if they're going to a day spa. Like
fine. Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's Dean's fault for being like a winner, winning at going to bad places. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Sam then goes on to say,
keep our heads down, keep swinging. We'll lose some. Hopefully we'll win more. And I don't know. Anyway, for what it's worth, I got your back.
And Dean just says, yeah, I know.
Cool. I don't know how to feel about the ending of that episode. Apart from the foreshadowing.
The foreshadowing. I guess this kind of goes back to the beginning of this season where Dean sort of slyly says, you've got my back, haven't you, Sam? And he's like, yeah,
That's true. It's whatever the other thing is. I can't think of the word where it's not foreshadowing, but the opposite of that, looking back. Referencing what?
Yeah.
My brain's not working today. Yeah, you're right. I think we've gone full circle, essentially. Sam is definitely back. He's back, baby.
Baby. And, yeah. Kind of just left on that.
All it cost was your family and, you know, that you were deaf for a day. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
So, this is actually kind of a bit of a cruel line from Sam, because he's like, for what it's worth, I've got your back. It's like, yeah, but like, we've just shown that Dean has abandoned the family for you. Like,
this is the least you can do.
Yeah. Like, what is this?
I don't know. I'm feeling very critical of Sam today. I don't know why. I'm not. Maybe it will pass, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know. You can't help but blame him for all the stuff that's gone wrong for Dean recently, because he was living his life fine, happy, and then Sam just messed it all up again. But that's what they do to each other. Yeah,
that's true.
And that was the moral of this episode, that they just mess things up for each other.
And other people.
Yeah, and other people. It's dragged people into their vortex of doom. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a swirly, whirly vortex.
And then we go from this episode.
Mate.
She's a French mistake. I was saying to Amy before we started recording that I was like, what? This... I thought there was more of a lead up to, like, we had, like, maybe an angel episode before the French mistake, but no, we just do this hard, like, flip to C plot.
I feel like I remember being blindsided by this when I first watched it. Like, what is this? What's going on? So I think I think that's just what it is. Yeah, full filler episode, by the way. I don't think anything plotty happens in this at all, maybe. There's a slight attempt to link it to the plot. I think that's it.
And thinking back on the last interaction that Balthazar had with Sam and Dean,
why would he help them?
What happens in this episode is even weirder.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it, because we can be like, what was this? This is an excuse, is what this was.
Yeah, this is definitely like, we need to put a silly episode in after like such a heavy one, and but we can't put this later on when we've kind of come back to the angel plot.
Yeah, like put it in now.
So we can get into the angel plot next week.
Yes, that's my thought. I think this is how they're tying the storylines together with the French mistake, which is a choice.
You might even say a mistake.
It's so funny. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It should be good. I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if anything, it's just a fun episode. Like, it's just, I
feel like we need a fun episode. I appreciate them putting in it, because I feel like we need it, and I feel like this is when we really started to appreciate like Misha as an actor. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yes. Misha, I can just see that gif
in my head, 24/7, on command. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that
whenever I need it.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this particular episode. I think I have said all I wanted to say on it. I'm going to miss Lisa and Ben until they reappear, I think.
Yeah.
I do, in fact, ship it. I've decided. Why not?
I do too. It could have been really good for Dean.
And, like, we do love a healthy relationship.
Yeah. And, like, the way that Lisa is written is just, like, I love the way she's gone from, like, a bendy yoga instructor to like this really like important character in Dean's life.
Yeah, you know, she's like a great parent, like she's a supportive partner, but ultimately she does like right by herself. I think I appreciate her a lot. Yeah.
She's an adult. She's like the only adult in the entire like show.
She's the voice of reason. Yeah, absolutely she is. Yeah, I know. It's just...
Like, she's even better than God. Like, God's a whiny little baby.
And that's why she had to be written out, you know? Like,
yeah, it's true.
Too strong and independent.
Too powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to next week. Done with this week.
That's how Supernatural should have ended, with Lisa coming back and having a stern talk with God and being like, no.
What are you playing at, man? Just like have a nap, you know, meet some people. Like, maybe try some yoga poses. That would have been funny. Yeah. Have you ever tried breathing, like deep breathing? You know, to get over your infatuation with Dean Winchester? Yeah. Like,
I get it.
We could bond over this. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. Let's wrap this up. So at the end of the episode, I'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his wonderful logo art on our podcast. And if you'd like to purchase it on a badge or a pin or like a little like frame print, you can do so on Redbubble. It is all there. I need to start getting some of these well good t-shirt ideas like on there at some point. You know, like you're being haunted by a ghost for being a dick. Like, who doesn't want that on a t-shirt?
Right.
And if you'd like to come talk to us and maybe tell us like how you realized Isabel got stabbed by that glass, come let us know on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter. We are Escaping Purgatory Podcast pretty much everywhere except Twitter, where we are Escaping Podcast. Whew. Yeah, come say hi.
So this week we had some rather deep conversations and realizations that maybe it's all not good that we do and we're not always in the right. But I guess we're going to carry on. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. I am so sorry. I'm keeping it in, but I am sorry. Hopefully next week we can find our way out.
Bye. I don't forgive
Bye.
you.